explanation, do you realise that like some traditional sifus will get quite upset with that because they kind of go, well, here's this guy, he's good at MMA, he's good at jiu-jitsu and Chinese boxing, and now he's sort of trying to overthrow some traditional methods that we've been doing. Like, who is this guy? Why? What gives him the right to do that?
You know, to be honest, I don't really care. You know, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, it's fine. People will disagree. People will agree. It's fine. Nowadays, everybody's so polarized that who's right and who's wrong, and that's it. And you can see even in the sort of physical world, everybody's moving away from each other and having their own ground. Where I think there's a lot more room for everybody to have a middle ground, where people just have their opinions and ideas, and you can agree or disagree. It's fine. At the end of the day, the even playing field is to test it. And like if you look at like jiu-jitsu, judo, Thai boxing, boxing, all the martial arts where they have sports environment, even though the sport environment limits some of the application, they don't argue so much because everybody knows the basics that work, and everybody knows some things come in and out of vogue. Some things work on certain people, but it's not going to work on other people. Some things work at a certain level, but they won't work on other people. Everybody sort of knows that, so no one really argues about technique or argues about stuff. People just exchange technique and try things. If they like it, then they adopt it. If they don't like it, they leave it. I mean, my teacher said, let application be your sifu, right? You know, let function well with form. That was the first things he taught me, because he realized from early on that there's so many branches of Wing Chun. When he researched all of them, he realized that some people do this all the time, some people never do that, some people always do this, and he started to analyze and look at the matrix of that, and that's where our system really formed from, was his full understanding of Wing Chun as an art rather than as a style, right? So when you look at it as a system, the system has to function at every level, right? The system has to be systemic. But most Wing Chun is kind of very much technique based and Simon Says based. You know, you're copying what someone told you and trying to make it work. But Wing Chun, you shouldn't be trying to make it work. It should already work already. You should be trying to make yourself work. You should be trying to, you know, get perfection, self-perfection in the movement yourself. So, you know, I mean, obviously these things are all just words. So this is why people argue, because words are just words. So for me, the proof is can you do it? You know, can you hold your own? Can you play the game? You know what I mean? So for me, that's why we developed the Wing Chun Trinity thing, which is a competition platform for CSL, because CSL is the platform of interaction that we have in Wing Chun. We have sparring as well, but most people, 90% of people, will do CSL, and maybe not as many people will do sparring, right? So obviously our guys spar a lot, but you know, if you do Wing Chun and you don't do CSL, you're not really doing Wing Chun. So anybody can do CSL and practice their skills. And some people say, oh well, CSL is not a fight, it's not competitive. But if you're better at someone in CSL, then you think your Wing Chun is better, right? So there is a form of competition. It can be a friendly form of competition, and it can be productive, right? And the productive side of that is you start to see what things work under a little more pressure. So you can do it at different levels. You can do CSL an easy level, a medium level, hard level, but it's still CSL. So you're still testing some of the core skills of Wing Chun. So for me, that's the bottom line: is you have to test it a little bit and see what flies off and what stays on, right? And then you can have a discussion. But if someone's just arguing about, oh, Alan uses wrestling, he uses jiu-jitsu, he uses this, he uses that. Well, I use them things in the right environment. So if we're going on the ground, I'll use jiu-jitsu. If you try to take me down, I'll use some wrestling. If I want to take you down, I might use wrestling. If I'm standing up doing CSL, I'm doing Wing Chun, I'm doing CSL. If we're sparring, I'm doing CSL, I'm doing Wing Chun, my Chinese boxing skills. So I applied the correct art in the correct environment. I don't mix them up. I'm not doing jiu-jitsu in my CSL, right? The concepts of Wing Chun have helped my wrestling and helped my jiu-jitsu a lot more than jiu-jitsu and wrestling have helped my Wing Chun, because Wing Chun has very good principles and has a very good understanding of the nuances of movement. So a good example would be like in wrestling, you might have an underhook, where you have an underhook on someone to control them. So in wrestling, it's just an underhook, right? And from the underhook, you can shrug them, you can throw their arm over your head. So just throw your arm over. No, relax. Just throw your arm over. Yeah. So I can throw his arm over, and then I can take his body. Right. So he doesn't know the wrestling, so I don't want to just throw him around. But from here, if I have this underhook, you get told to do a technique where you throw the arm over, and you can take their back. You can drive in, take the hip, and throw them. So what we're doing from the underhook is we're doing like a tan sao, and then there we're lifting, we're doing tok, right? And then we're sinking, we're doing gum. So for us, we know when we're in this position, we can spread, we can lift, we can sink. We already have these concepts, so we have a language to explain the movement of the hand. So in wrestling, you do these things, but you don't necessarily have a language to explain further than the underhook itself, right? And same with an overhook. With an overhook, it's like a landsail. So if you have an underhook, an overhook is just relax. It's going to kill me. If my landsail here is inside, right? You usually have a landsail outside to control somebody, but you can have a landsail inside, right? This is like an underhook in wrestling. So the underhook in wrestling, I can whizzer you to throw you, which is twisting my arm, which is like turning my land into a bong, right? So it becomes a bong sound, right? I can pull you in and hug you tight and strike you, right? So it's like, again, it's pinning, like I'm using my landsail to twist the second form, and then I'm sinking, so I'm using jump and I'm using gum. So we all have this terminology of how we adjust and move. So for us, it gives us a little bit more articulation in our understanding of the movement. If we're hand fighting here and you grab my hand, and I circle my hand and I win the hand fight, I hunsailed and circle to control. But I know what I'm trying to do with the hunsail. So I always had very good hand fighting in jiu-jitsu. I always had very good pummeling in wrestling, but that always came from my Wing Chun. So when people say I'm using wrestling, using jiu-jitsu for my Wing Chun, it's actually the other way around. You know, my Wing Chun is my main art. I've been doing Wing Chun for 35 years. Everything I do is Wing Chun. Everything I think about is Wing Chun. And then understanding wrestling, understanding jiu-jitsu allows me to apply my Wing Chun in different positions, because I know what they're trying to do. I know what the wrestler is trying to do. I know what the jiu-jitsu guy is trying to do. And over time, I've trained in arts to a high level because I do martial arts. So it's just, you just train them. So when people say, oh, Alan's closed-minded, he thinks he knows it all. Well, I don't think I know it all, but I know what I'm doing. I know Wing Chun, and I've trained to a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've trained wrestling for 15 years. So I do know what I'm doing. So when people tell me stupid stuff like, I'll just gum sound you in the head, or I'll just, you know, you can't take me down. Yeah, I do laugh, because I mean, anybody who thinks you can't get taken down, or anybody who thinks you can gum sound a jiu-jitsu guy, or wrestler in the head and stop them, is in a dream world, right? Of course, there's techniques like that you can use, and I will show people how to use jump sound, how to use gum sound, how to use it, but you need to know how you're being attacked. If you just think someone's going to zombie attack you and that's going to work, it's not. If you think it's impossible for someone to take you down, then I think you're deluded. So yes, I'm opinionated about these things because I train with good guys and I know what happens. You know, and most people who say that they can't get taken down have never really trained with good jiu-jitsu guys or good wrestlers. So they train with their friends, you know, running at them. So I mean, yeah, of course, you know, it's just, you know, if you've got good Wing Chun, you can hold your own against most people who don't know anything. But if someone knows something, it's much harder. So I set my bar against my peers, against guys that are better than me, other arts, guys that push me. They're the guys that I set my benchmark against. So when I hear other guys tell me stuff and they don't know what they're talking about, of course, it's a bit pointless to talk about it. It's hard to discuss it. So my Wing Chun is very functional. It is Wing Chun. It's 100% Wing Chun. We're not mixing stuff into our martial arts. We're actually just understanding other martial arts so we can understand how to apply our Wing Chun against them and understand the generic differences and the generic crossovers, right? Because there's a lot of things that are the same in all martial arts. You just need to understand them. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess like the defense that people often say of the Wing Chun system, like you read the introduction to a school on their online website, and it says about, and it says Wing Chun was founded by a woman. Okay, Wing Chun therefore is useful for a weaker person to defeat a stronger person. But it looks like with all this kind of boxing and hugging and wrestling, isn't this techniques for like a man to use? Like, how does that work?
Well, women are very good brestlers. I mean, some of the best wrestlers I know are women. Everybody can do martial arts. Everybody can be strong. Everybody can be weak. I mean, it's just down to the individual. Wing Chun, I mean, the idea it was designed by a woman is a metaphor used in a lot of Chinese martial arts. And what's a metaphor is you don't need to use force to make it work. It doesn't mean it's for a gender. It can be for anybody. So I think the idea is that, you know, it's teaching you the idea that good martial arts means that you don't need to be stronger than someone for it to work. But of course, when it's all said and done, if you both have technique, the next thing you look at is strength and weight. So if you look at any competition, there are weight categories because two people are both skilled. The weight and the weight is going to make a difference, right? The gender is even going to make a difference sometimes, right? Because obviously at that level, when you both have skill, you look at the next things, right? If you have no skill and I'm weaker than you, I can still beat you. But it doesn't mean if you're stronger than me and I have skill, you can't beat me. You might still beat me, right? I mean, people have this whole, again, it's a very polarized idea, but life's not that simple, right? You can get someone who's got no skill, just throws massive haymakers at you. If you get hit with one of them, it's going to take you out. You have to have the mental fortitude to hold your own and stick to your technique. So some of the robust training that we do is not just to take on people using your your attributes, is to temper your mind to deal with pressure. Because if your mind can't deal with the pressure of someone bigger, stronger than you, then your body's not going to deal with that pressure. So it's very important that you feel confident that you can find a way to win, right? I know if someone's bigger and stronger than me, I can always find a way to win. I'll find their weakness. I'll find where I'm going to win. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to apply the way I like to apply it. I like to just smash someone and throw them down, finished, easy. But if they're bigger, stronger than me, that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to take more angles, get in, find a way, put them down, control them. I'm going to have to do other things. So yeah, I mean, that's just martial arts. It's a puzzle. And the idea is to have skills so you can solve the puzzle. I think people are very paralyzed. It's like a paper, scissors, rocks game, but that's too simplistic. Martial arts is not that simple, right?